Hi everyone, it's Alicia again. Our next talk will be presented by Terence Tan. He'll be sharing with you about the basics of open source intelligence, including Google Docking and Shodan. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Terence, and today we'll be talking about treasure maps, which is the hidden paths to finding information. So what is this whole workshop is going to be about? Today we're going to be talking more or less about open source intelligence, or OSINT, and these are informations that are all available publicly in the public domain. You don't need to go into the hidden dark web or whatnot, or maybe even some paywalls to access such data. These data are all going to be publicly available data, and therefore they are like information that's out there on the treasure map, but yet still hidden from plain view. So you might have actually seen them, but you don't even know that they exist. So before I begin, I'd like to make a disclosure here is that this workshop is meant to be for educational and training purposes only. Please do not use any of these materials from this session for any illegal purposes. Now, just a quick background about myself. I actually graduated from NUS Computing in Information Security just earlier this year, sorry. And I'm actually an alumni from the NOC Israel program. So I actually went to Israel last year as well. Right now, I'm actually an engineer in a semiconductor company called Micron. Not sure if you guys are familiar with it. We actually do memory chipsets for a lot of the products that you guys might have. Personally, I believe that cybersecurity is actually everyone's responsibility, and therefore I actually love to share with everyone everyday tips about how to keep yourself safe on a day-to-day basis. So in today's workshop, we'll actually be covering OSINT, and what are the key techniques that you'll learn is you'll be learning how to do Google Docking. You'll be learning about default passwords. You'll be learning about EXIF. And most importantly, you'll be learning about Shodan. So first up, what is OSINT? For some of you who might not be aware, OSINT actually is open source intelligence, whereby we use publicly available information to better understand your target. And this is actually very important because in this pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic, everyone around is actually starting to work from home more and more often. And this trend seems to be continuing. You see, look at Google, look at Facebook, all the big firms, they're actually encouraging more of their employees to be working from home even after even after we move on to phase 3. So what this effectively means is that the world is relying more and more on the public infrastructure for the internet, for information exchange, less so on the traditional corporate infrastructure, intranet infrastructure. So this actually means that there are more and more opportunities for employees to actually leave tidbits target employees to actually leave tidbits and little breadcrumbs around for you to actually pick up and actually do a proper, even better analysis on your target before you actually do an attack on them. As such, because of this kind of behavior, this kind of trends that we are looking in the whole industry as a whole, OSINT will only become more and more useful as time goes by. So let's start off with looking at this simple case study, this hacked IP camera incident. As you can see, it's not only Singapore, we have Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and so on and so forth. A couple of countries that are more developed, more interconnected. We have more cameras that we want to protect ourselves with, but at the same time, like a double-edged sword, some really unscrupulous people actually are using our insecurity here against us and making us even less secure. In this particular case, as you can see, all this, peeping at the opposite gender or even the same gender, doing their own things. I'm not sure how to put it, but it is becoming more and more prevalent. So bringing it closer to home, in Singapore, this article is actually reported back in October. I think that's about 2 months ago. The news article actually reported that IP cameras are being hacked and their contents are being leaked and sold online. So, uh, we buy these cameras, to protect ourselves when we are, or rather our things at home, or maybe just to monitor our pets at home, when we're not at home. But now with everybody working more and more from home, we tend to forget that we have these little cameras there, and this is such a big problem because these hackers reportedly have over 3 terabytes of content that they have actually recorded from all these CCTVs or IP cameras, and they're even still selling live access to these systems, which means that the systems have not been patched, and many of them still don't know that they are being watched by a creepy person on the other side of the globe. And all of these are just available by the sellers on the Discord channel. They're just selling at USD $150 for access to all of this content. So I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but personally, I feel that this is a very troubling thing. That people are watching you without your permission or without even you noticing it. And the whole part about this workshop, we're going to look at how some of the methods that they actually used to actually acquire these footages. So first up, we have here is the Google Doc. Now, I remember back in a few years ago, one of my first non-school training was at the was with one of my non-school training was at a workshop called Cyber Defenders. And I remember the trainer from Think Secure, his name was Julian. He actually just keep telling us, always ask the oracle when we have something in doubt. And I think this is very applicable here because Google is pretty much one of the most popular search engines. So always Google, Google, Google. So why Google? Google is one of the most popular search engine used to find things online. Most of the people, we will use Google on a day-to-day basis to search for probably where is this place, what to eat, and whatnot. And there must be a reason why Google is so popular. And it's quite obvious because Google most of the time would likely give you a result that you are looking for. And therefore, even though Google is actually has one of the largest indexed environments in the world, database in the world, and they only scrape the surface web. As you can see, the surface web is just a little bit of the whole internet infrastructure in the world. But despite that, it still can give us a lot of information. So when we perform a Google Doc, right, it's actually like a passive kind of attack method because you're not actively telling the your victim or target that, hey, look, I'm attacking you, I'm probing about you. It's more like a stand back, I'm going through an intermediary, so they don't even know that you're looking up at them. But even though it's a passive attack method, it can still tell us a lot of sensitive information and even about website vulnerabilities or even server vulnerabilities if you use it right. So that said, now let's take a look, let's explore some of the Google Docs operators. As part of their services, Google actually have a lot of operators to help you to actually streamline your search query so as for them to give you better search results. So some of their services like Google Web, Web Search, the Google Images, Google News, and so on and so forth, they have quite a few operators, as you can see, and these operators, each of them serve a different purpose. So let's take a look at an example. By using operators, we can actually streamline our searches in this case. So in this case, what am I actually looking for? What am I telling Google that I'm looking for? I'm telling Google that I'm looking for a file type that is that ends with PDF, and it has to have this keyword confidential inside. And therefore, looking into by entering this in, as you can see, it returns to me all the PDFs that has the word confidential inside. So that's it. Now it's your turn to actually try it. For the purpose of this workshop, I want you guys to actually open up your Google, go to google.com and try finding a log that has usernames inside, and in this case, you should be using two different search operators. I'll give you about 2 minutes to try it, and we'll come back in 2 minutes. All right. If any one of you have any questions about this, feel free to drop by Discord and put your questions there, and I'll try my best to answer the questions. All right. So I hope you guys have managed to find it. So for those of you who looking at trying to find out what's the right answer, well, this is the right answer. You use the all in text operator to search for username, and then we look for the file type log. So if you notice actually in the previous slide, there is one that is all in text and there's one in text. So what is the difference between the two? So when you use all in text, it will look for the word username or usernames directly, and it will not have like like for example, user. If you type username, it will only return you username all in the text. If the text has usernames, then it will not return to you. However, if you to use in text, then yes, the usernames or if you put in front of usernames, all of these will appear because they're just looking like a regex. As long as part of the text matches your text, it will return to you the result. So next up we have here is default passwords. Well, default passwords, well, they are like the usernames, passwords, and of course, last but not least, the configurations. So default settings, I would say a lot of our hardware, our services, they come with default username and passwords, and even configurations out of the box from the factory. Because as an end product for consumers, what these products have to be is they have to be user friendly. So they are most of the times plug and play. And what does this actually mean is that users, they don't need to change anything. They don't even need to change the credentials. They don't even need to configure it. They just plug it in and it works. Therefore, What does this mean? It means that, most of the users, they wouldn't change anything. And this is compounded by the fact that, 59% of the people only use just one set of password across all the different services. And this, by de facto becomes their default result. Default password. So for example, if you have a Hotmail account using QWERTYUIOP123 exclamation mark hashtag uh, SINCON. It's a very long password. It can be considered a relatively strong password. It matches most of the criteria, but I'm going to use it for my Facebook. I'm going to use it for my Twitter. I'm going to use it for my different forum accounts. I'm going to use it for my Discord password. What is this going to be? It's going to be my default password. And when that happens, if one of the service that we use, let's say a forum that we go to, has been hacked, then what it effectively means is that the hacker now has your password to that forum. He's going to try your username and the password combination onto the variety of services that they have interest in, and they might even and if there's overlap, like they are interested in not only the forum, they're interested in Facebook, and they try your username and password onto Facebook and it works, you are pretty much good game. So this also means that with all of these default configuration, default passwords and stuff, combined together with Google Doc. Just now in the Google Doc, you saw logs with username and passwords. Combine these two together. What do we actually get? At the end of the day, we have a whole password combination list that is available for you to download. I mean, not for you, but for hackers to download, access, or anyone who is interested and manage to find this kind of database. Now they have access to not only your Facebook, not only your forum accounts, they have access to pretty much all of your services that you use. And that can be a really scary thing, considering that how much of our personal life is now digitalized on the cloud. So that's it. We can actually look into Google to look for default passwords for different routers, different services, and even and even data. We can even look for password dumps, so as to find different kind of password combinations that people are using. And this is probably one of the things that they attackers use once they've identified all these services, IP cameras that's available online. Now, moving on from looking at scouring on all of these online things, another thing that is really pertinent in finding bits and pieces of thrills to find our treasure is within the EXIF data itself. EXIF data is quite subtle because it is there, but a lot of times we just tend to forget about it, and when we do, a whole trove of information is available there. So let's take a look at what is EXIF. Exchangeable Image File Format, or EXIF, is actually a standard that's used by cameras and softwares, and of course camera phones, to store data attributes about media files, including images, video, voice recording, and so on and so forth. Now, traditionally, an EXIF will actually contain image information from the photo attributes, and this includes ISO, shutter speed, aperture, and so on and so forth. And more importantly, in recent years, when we take photos using our phones, our GPS coordinates are embedded, and so on and so forth, and more. And because of that, the EXIF is actually stored as information in the image. So as a digital image, you can store additional digital information to it. It is just another route that attackers can use to actually load information, secret information, or even malicious payload. So how are EXIF created or modified, you might ask? Common tools that people use to actually modify or extract full EXIF data is like using the EXIF tools that is available for free from QueenSU or even Adobe Photoshop itself. So you can actually download the EXIF tools from the QR code on the screen here if you like. But for this, the purpose of this workshop, we'll have it very, very simple. We won't be using uh, such tools, but unfortunately, this workshop will be teaching you how to do it on a Windows computer itself. There are ways to do it on Mac, but I will not be touching it in this workshop. So now we'll just jump straight into the into the hands-on portion. So EXIF, this is actually a simple EXIF abstraction. If you guys have actually downloaded the pre-workshop material, which is basically the image file, you should see the image file with the name Treasure Map Special. Yep. So this map is actually very special. I've actually embedded extra information inside these maps. Inside this image itself. Here we go. Here's the image. All right. So if you guys can actually see the image here. So how do we actually extract standard information? You can actually see it from the Photos app itself, but inside Windows Explorer itself, you can. So let's take a look at how we can access it. So now when we have the file actually have the file here, we can actually just right click on it onto it, scroll all the way down to properties, and here we have the properties. All right, so in these properties, when we go to see the details, you can actually see that can actually see all the information. All right, so in this information, from all of this information, are you able to find some tidbits there? So first and foremost, one of the tidbits here that we have is the GPS coordinates, the longitude and the altitude. Now, I'd like you guys to try and retrieve out this GPS longitude and latitude and paste it into Google and let me know what do you guys get. All right. Okay, I'll give you guys a little bit more time to copy it and paste it into Google and see where do you think this photo was taken. All right. So yes, some of you might have guessed it right. This photo was supposedly taken at Jewel. However, there's one issue here, which is it is not actually taken at Jewel. This photo was actually taken at Raffles City back in 2018 InfoSec in the city. So that's one way, one example that we have actually modified the file. And the second part of it is, where is the flag? The flag is actually just here under the camera serial number, and this is actually a encoded string. Can any one of you actually solve this encoded string? I'll give you guys another minute to try to retrieve it and to see if any one of you can actually find tell me what does this string mean. Right, we have some really brilliant people here. Alright, so actually this string was encoded in base 64, right? Yeah, where's the screen? Yeah, here you go. This was actually encoded in base 64, and see, yeah. And when we when we decoded it, we get the text, the plain text, well, was this the treasure, right? So if you have managed to get this right, give yourself a pat on the back. All right, now that we have finished EXIF, I hope you guys have actually looked at actually understood what EXIF is. And sometimes how does EXIF come into play is that some people actually post uh, screenshots of their webcams online, like, hey, look, my dog is doing these kind of activities. Look, we actually here and stuff. And then they forget to scrub the EXIF data from the image itself. And when the hackers get their hands onto it, they can reverse, they can try to run it through the image algorithms through Google Docking. They'll try to run through the default services, default port numbers of these systems, and through all this means they are able to find your the cameras, the IP cameras, the IP address for it, the services for it. But this is a whole lot of trouble, don't you think? And the next topic that we have up here helps to solve all of these problems. I mean, for the hacker at least. Shodan. Shodan helps to helps you to find your services easily. What do I mean by that? Oh my. So, what is Shodan? Shodan is actually a search engine for the Internet of Things. Shodan, think of Shodan like Google, they crawl the internet, they scour the internet for all of the connected devices, and they collect the device fingerprints, and all of these are actually indexed into a single database like Google, so that you can search through it. Now, what is Shodan? Again, well, sorry. Uh, why is Shodan so useful? Well, traditional household items such as refrigerators, even TVs, and now, as you can see, security cameras, they're all connected to the internet for convenience. You can look at your house camera from all the way from your phone and say, "Hey, look, my dog is sleeping right now. Oh, my baby is in bed, um, sleeping peacefully. Oh, my baby is crawling out. Or maybe, oh, my mom is trying to get out of the bed right now, and I need someone to help her." And so, because of this convenience, everything is being hooked up online. But remember earlier on that so many people do not change the default credentials. That's where the problem comes into play. I will explain that even more in a short while. Now, in corporate environments, or what some of you might consider as an industrial environment, manufacturing lines, corporate infrastructures, they are all being hooked up online. And in the case of manufacturing lines, it is in case of manufacturing lines, SCADA systems are the ones that's being hooked up online. So anyone who has admin access to your system remotely can technically do anything they want to your manufacturing line. Shut it down, sabotage your plants, and so on and so forth. So that's why understanding the use of Shodan and securing, and more importantly, securing your infrastructure and your devices by changing the passwords, patching it regularly, and so on and so forth is paramount. So Shodan actually Shodan is even more useful these days, because modern devices like your cameras are most likely going to be using standard popular protocols. Like in the case of IP cameras again, most of them use RTSP, or what we know as real-time streaming protocol. So you don't only need to use your vendor's application. You can use third-party application like VLC and to name some to actually access your video stream, and in many cases record them. Furthermore, if we're not talking about IP cameras, or I mean some IP cameras they do, they even come with web interfaces to actually help you to perform remote management on your target system. Oopsies. Right. So that's it. Because they all come with the web interfaces to help you perform remote management target system, like I explained earlier, it actually becomes a very big problem for you, for the end users who are going to be the target of such hackers. Furthermore, with Shodan, we actually know the basic details of the device, such as the device type, the brand, the version, and so on and so forth. And this effectively actually means that at the end of the day, we don't even need to attack the target directly. We can just passively find out all about the target and prepare our payloads. And when we are ready, we just launch the attack onto the target. So for the next part of this workshop, we'll be actually going through together how to search on Shodan and find out about how to use Shodan. Okay, so now to start off with Shodan, we just go to the Shodan's website, which is shodan.io, and then if you have an account, you should log in already. Otherwise, I would encourage you to actually log in for an account on Shodan. So I'll probably give you guys like a minute or two to sign up or log into Shodan if you have already not done so. Okay, so hope you guys have already logged in. I'll start by going through some of the basics about Shodan. So first and foremost, Shodan actually have like Google, they have their search operators to better help you to streamline the search results so that you get better results and you get the results that you actually want. So first and foremost, for Shodan, we have the port. We also have basically the port. We have the net. Let me get it out here for you guys. So some of the example operators are like this. Okay, there we go. So some of the examples are like this. We have the port. We have the net. Host name, we have the operating systems, country, organization, time frame that they scan the system. We have the hash value, whether a certain screenshot is there, and whether or not a title exists. And more interestingly, for some of you, is probably vulnerabilities, search by a CVE vulnerability number as well. So by using this, we can actually excuse me, sorry. We can actually help. We can actually streamline our search results. So, for example, now if I were to be looking up, if I were to be looking for Cisco devices in Singapore, for example, I'll be searching in the Shodan systems to look for Cisco devices that are in the city Singapore. And this will actually let us know uh, which systems are in Singapore and are using Cisco devices. So you can see, we can see a lot of Amazon self hosted at M1 and stuff. Recently, unfortunately, we are getting flooded by honeypots. One of our one of our talks at SINCON is also about honeypots, traditional, just by coincidence. Yeah, so when the so honeypots also falls into the search engine, unfortunately, because after all, they are online. So uh, Shodan would definitely crawl into it. However, on Shodan, when a honeypot is detected, they actually do give a label honeypot, so you know that you are not falling for a trap, lah, in essence. So let's try searching for Linksys webcams. Okay, so since we know that Linksys, I mean, if you do a quick Google, you know that Linksys web cameras, they actually have a certain title, TM01 in their title, and we want to look for those with a proper screenshot. And how can we do that? You can just use the title, and we use the has screenshots option, and let's take a look at the results. Wow, we actually have results of these systems. And as you can see here, we have the date timestamp, which is pretty much right now. This is in the store, and so on and so forth. And these cameras, they are not even protected; they're just available publicly. So if you take a look at one, many of times you might not actually be able to get in because they are old. But when we do get in, it'll be quite interesting. And here we are. We are in. As you can see, it's that simple. Now my internet is a little slow, so please just bear with me on my internet speed here. And hey, here we go. I'm actually looking at video live. So this is one of the ways that this is one of the ways that our hacker friends, they actually maybe not really friends. I mean, those hackers actually tried to access the web cameras in Singapore. So now, if we were to change the country code, we can put country actually, because Singapore is both a country and a city. And try. Ah, good news, we are safe. There's no Linksys web cameras that are active in Singapore. Oh, said that a little too early. And as you can see, here we have one. And then what's this? Yeah, this was just tested just last week, and it's in Singapore. So yeah, so these kind of examples actually just show how scary it is to be on the internet these days. Actually, yeah. So based on these examples, we actually can see that it is not exactly so safe. If we just leave everything to default configuration. And here we are. Can we actually even access it? Oh wow, we can. It's still alive. Okay, I think I better get off here. Alright, so yeah. So that's how we can actually use Shodan to actually look for this kind of information. Not only about looking about information on this kind of exploits. Sorry, not exploits. Looking at this kind of information about web cameras and stuff. Shodan is actually even useful if you're to look for vulnerabilities that exist. So, for example, we're looking at Heartbleed. It's probably one of the most popular vulnerability on the internet these days. I mean, in the past at least. And as you can see, by looking for the vulnerability, it actually returns to us all the different servers that have the vulnerability. As an attacker, You don't even need to look for a target. You don't really need to ping your target, perform a fingerprint analysis directly from your device. You can just use Shodan to search who have already done the work for you, just to search for all these targets, and you have bingo, you have your targets. So yeah, and that's it. With that said, actually, Shodan, as you can see, Shodan is actually very easy to use, and you have pretty much everything that you need at your fingertips. And that with that and so with that, we have actually come towards the end of our session. Let me get back to come back to the end of the session, and I hope you guys found this session interesting, and I really hope that you guys don't use this for any nefarious purposes. And please keep in mind, whatever that you do, whether or not it's legal or illegal, will be will most likely be recorded still by the endpoint. And with that, we'll move on to the Q&A section. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to raise it up in your Discord channel, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.